Your first failure is your failure to get picked for Surrey Country Cricket Club as a teenager.
So Surrey County Cricket Club.
County, sorry.
I was trying to be polite.
I know you shouldn't have been.
I'm not going to. But so you're not into cricket.
I live near the Oval, but I'm not into cricket.
That's Surrey's home ground.
Oh, there we go. No, I've embarrassed myself.
Actually, when you asked me very kindly to be on your podcast, I was reflecting on my 3 failures, and the more I reflect on this one, I didn't realize until I was preparing for this the impact that first failure had on my life. The short version or the long version, I was pretty good at cricket when I was younger. I used to play when I was a boy, so 12, 13, 14, 15. From 8, I'd play on Saturday and Sunday and twice during the week. I say this with humility. I'm 53 now, so I can say this stuff. I was a very, very good batsman. I was a good bowler, not a brilliant bowler. And so Surrey County Cricket Club, which is think of, if you're into football, think of Premier League team. It's a cricket Premier League team, basically. And so I had trials with them. I wasn't successful, and I assumed I wasn't good enough, and that's fine. But I was so depressed and devastated, I didn't play cricket that year again. I didn't pick up a bat that year, or indeed the next year, or indeed the year after, because I thought I was good enough, but they thought I wasn't good enough, so I wasn't good enough. And that's, I'm not good enough to play elite cricket. I can't be bothered, to be honest, to play for a club and stuff, because I'm very good for the club level, that level, people I play with in my school. But if I'm not good enough to be in elite, I can't really bother to play. And I fell out of love with cricket and didn't play for a long time. And reflecting actually on this failure, I realized that subconsciously it had a profound impact on me, because there's a number of ways to look at this. You weren't good enough, number 1. 2, you were good enough, but there are other reasons why you didn't get in. And one of the things I realized subconsciously, reflecting on this failure that you tasked me to find, is it changed the way I think about things. And I still do this now, which is this: whatever you do in life, whether it's asking somebody out, whether it's doing a law degree, whether it's applying for a job, whatever it is, you need to ask yourself the question: what are the rules of the game? What are the rules of success? And I didn't twig, how do you get successful in being taken on by Surrey? And I now realize, by the way, it could just be I wasn't good enough. So let's assume for a second I was good enough for this theory to work. I look at who got in. The public school boys, fair enough. I wasn't a public school boy. They had the right kit. They had a coach present, and they made sure the thing they were good at first, so batting. So I did both because I was an all-rounder. But what I should have done was not bowl, just bat. And there are other things I should have done: take my teacher along, get the right kit, so forth. And what I realized subconsciously about 3 or 4 years later, I think, because I just didn't care in the first couple of years, I didn't play cricket anymore, is I twigged that the way to get what I want, and it's not, by the way, being Machiavellian or being ruthlessly ambitious, just recognizing the way things are, is understand the rules of the game. So understand, if you're going to be a lawyer like, Fuentes and Cusack in LA Law, you got to get a law degree. How do you get your law degree? Go to university. If you want to, get an interview with this firm that you love and adore, want to work for them, make sure your application is a certain way to be invited for an interview. Once you've got the interview, to be the one chosen to be taken on as a trainee solicitor, you got to recognize what things they might be looking for. How, you know what I mean? So
yes.
And so I realized actually only in the last few weeks that failure taught me more than all the other things I did later on, because I realized now, running to be a member of parliament, wanting to be in the cabinet, so it's not in any way bragging, but I reflected back on the things that with a great team around me that we've managed to achieve. It's understanding what you need to do to get where you want. And if I was 15 years old again, we've got to, for this thesis to work, you got to assume I'm good enough in terms of talent. I know now what I should have done when I was 15 to get in. And had I known, 6 weeks later what I knew 3 years later, I'd have reapplied to Surrey County Club 6 months later and try it again. But understanding what you should be doing to be spotted by the guy who decides whether you, do you know what I mean, I take it on or not. I never shared with anybody how upset I was. I just said I don't fancy playing. So I didn't tell my dad. I didn't tell Mr. Mather, my teacher at school. I didn't tell my brothers. I wallowed in it, but I just got on with doing other stuff. And my Saturdays and Sundays became free, and my evenings became free. And this is the first time I actually talked properly about what I learned from that. I mean, I was asked about it a couple of years ago when I went to Lord's, and I mentioned it briefly then. That started me thinking about why, because somebody asked me, why didn't you try again? And I just and I reflected on that, and I was just gutted, and I was devastated, and it was too late by the time I realised what I should have done or what I could do to get in. And I love cricket, and I basically gave up on it.
Hearing you talk about this, what I feel so keenly is that sense of rejection, and the rejection from a committee almost who had rigged the rules of the game against someone like you. But I don't mean like deliberately.
Yeah.
I mean sort of institutionally, culturally, over many, many centuries. And I wonder how much of your motivation politically is to ensure that that game, talking sort of broad landscape, is no longer rigged.
Oh, without a doubt. So I use the privileged position I have to invest in a huge amount in sports, and making sure people have the right kit, but also making sure the coaches understand that actually natural talent shouldn't be affected by how people look and stuff. And spot on. And cricket is it still is, I'm afraid, quite an elitist sport. And so, but I say this. People may snigger, listen to this. I think I was good enough. You might think, well, yeah, everyone who is rejected thinks they're good enough, right? But let me be frank. I used to love football. I was never good enough to play for, even a club football team, let alone Premier League. And I still play football now. I could never have got into Liverpool, the team I support, or, played for England in cricket. I could have done. And that's why I say this. So, I love playing tennis. I never could have been good enough to play at Wimbledon. I play football. I was never good enough to play for, a conference league team. I think I was good enough in cricket. And that's why you're right to ask this question about motivation subsequently. And that's why initially, you see, and I thought about this recently because of, preparing for this. Why did I start being posh when I first became a trainee lawyer? Because I wanted to fit in, right? And you just start you socialize and mirror, don't you? Because, and I say this, the partner in my firm, she was an Oxbridge graduate, nothing wrong with that at all. And the other partner was also, from that sort of background. The barristers we used were from that sort of background. I know 6 months into my training contract, I was speaking posh, right? And it was a client. She said to me, "Listen, you know why I like you and I trust you is because I feel like you understand me." She was actually from Croydon, not far from where we live in Oval and Tooting. And I realized actually one of my USPs was just being an ordinary Londoner. And what I should do is try and continue being authentically myself rather than trying to fit in. And I think I tried to fit in because of my Surrey experience, right? Because you have the right gear. Nobody's going to, give you new cases or award you a county cap if you're a maverick, or And so this fitting in stuff it's a double-edged sword because you've got to obviously try to make sure you don't scare people. But I saw this, and same when I went to Parliament. When I became an MP in 2005, my best mates when I was newly elected were, Dawn Butler, Black MP from Brent, Emily Thornbury, a former lawyer from Islington. But I really liked other MPs as well, but, who were former special advisors and so forth. And so there's this, I've got two paths. One is this path to be, the special advisor path and be that sort of person, or two is to be myself. And I think I've hopefully fused both to try and carve out my own niche.
I hope you enjoyed that video. Be sure to check out the full episode of How to Fail wherever you get your podcasts. And also make sure you're following us on social media for all the latest updates.